When I was going through my father's books and files after he passed away, I found a yellow folder marked Paul Harvey. In it was over 3 decades of memories, from letters exchanged between the two longtime friends, to torn newspaper articles, to shared recipes between my mother Nellie and Paul Harvey's precious Angel. Theirs was a special friendship. 2 men. One, the most listened to newsman in America. The other, a media ministry pioneer, George Vandeman. They had many shared interests, and they discovered them one memorable weekend in 1961 at Campion Academy in Colorado. When my father died in the year 2000, Paul Harvey said this in a voice cracking with emotion on his November 7, 2000 broadcast, and I quote, "A handful of books have had a significant influence on my life. The Bible, of course, and one called Planet in Rebellion by George Vandeman. In 1961, I was invited to Loveland, Colorado to speak to students and was told that George Vandeman, whose book had impacted my life so constructively, was also on campus that day. We lunched together at a private home, after which Elder Vandeman and I sat together on the front steps for 2 memorable hours, and thus began a friendship that now extends into eternity. I cannot count the times we sought counsel from one another. The first ever worldwide television seminar we together put together. George and his wife Nellie and their extended family became the best of friends with Angel and me. An ultimately gentle man, George Vandeman has completed his earthly ministry in his 84th year. When the roll is called up yonder and you and I hear that gently persuasive voice again, we'll know we made it to the right place." Paul Harvey was a true gentleman, a great American, a consummate communicator, and he was a dear friend of Seventh-day Adventists. He loved reading Ellen White. He and Angel were very concerned about eating right and living healthfully. Excerpts from his letters to my father include things like this from December 3, 1981. "Good morning, George. Fully recognizing physiological variables, nonetheless, I'm compelled to share something with Nellie. Cutting out citrus, this is a dreadful prescription for a Californian, and adding alfalfa to the daily diet has altogether eliminated that discomfort in the thumbs and knees." From August 28, 1985. "Tell Nell we finally got around to her burger recipe. Delicious. She should write the next book." After my father wrote to him telling him that his 5-year-old grandson Craig loved listening to Paul Harvey News each morning, he wrote back in 1990, "What a rich man you are. Please hug Craig for me. I'm also taking Connie's album with me on a private farm retreat shortly. Something wonderful to anticipate. Please greet Nellie for Angel and me." His final letter came about a year before my father passed away, 1999. "Good morning, George. We have lost track of one another. That must not happen when your counsel is so desperately needed to stabilize this rebellious planet." Yes, Paul Harvey was a friend of Seventh-day Adventists. He and his wife contributed financially to many Adventist churches and organizations over the years. When Angel passed away in May of 2008, I wondered just how long Mr. Harvey would be able to live without his precious wife. My mother and father died within 9 months of each other. For the Harveys, it proved to be just about 10 months. I thought of how strong and how loving the 2 men's marriages were, and I thought about their special friendship, one that had stood the test of time. The world knows Paul Harvey as the man who invented or popularized such terms as Reaganomics and skyjacker and guesstimate. They know him as a true American with an inimitable voice and style, one of the most gifted and beloved broadcasters in our nation's history. He brought us good news and sometimes bad news, but he always told us the rest of the story. I'd like to think that the rest of the story for the Harvey and Vandeman friendship will take place someday soon in heaven. After all, he did say that when next we hear my father's gently persuasive voice, we'll know we made it to the right place. I can almost picture them now, sitting on the front porch of a mansion in heaven, taking up right where they left off, filling each other in on the good news of what Jesus did for all of us. Now that's one radio broadcast I don't want to miss. How about you?